Hello everyone and welcome once again to Get Creative with Suffolk Public Library. Got a super fun one for us for the month of June. We're going to be doing some squeegee painting. If you haven't seen it all over your Instagram or Facebook, I certainly have. So we're going to have a lot of fun with it today. And this is a good one for all ages. This is a type of process art. So the idea is really to kind of let go of your intentions and just kind of get to have fun with it. So we're gonna grab some paint, and I recommend setting up with a newspaper below you because you won't be able to do just one of these, and you'll want to just be able to rip the newspaper off and do a setup for another one. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you're going to need as you get set up is honestly pretty simple. This time we're going to do some acrylic paint. I've got a bunch of different colors. I'm going to be using them straight out of the bottle, but you can absolutely mix your own colors for this and use whatever you have around as long as it's going to be some acrylic. And a squeegee of some sort. I've got a couple of different types here. You can also pick up something simple like the shower squeegees work really well and they tend to be really wide. Um, you can find those just about anywhere, including like a Dollar Tree or something. You can even just use if you have old gift cards or things. I wouldn't recommend using a credit card, even if it's old. But like old gift cards and things like that, you really just want something that's relatively sturdy and has a nice sharp edge so that we can use it to scrape along our paper. If you request a kit from the library, you'll get one of these squeegees. So it's got a harder side and then a side with some fabric on it if you want some softer scrapes that won't pick up quite all of the paint. And you'll also get a little bit of paint and some paper. And really the biggest thing beyond that are you're gonna need some kind of covering for your table, for your workspace. Like I said, I recommend newspaper because it's easy to stack on top and you just rip off a sheet on top and keep going and making more pieces. You'll also want to have some wipes or paper towels or something around near you that you can wipe your hands and your squeegees and your workstation. This does get pretty messy. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted an apron or something to cover your clothing as well. It'll be really fun, super simple. We'll get into it. So, the biggest thing about this that you're going to control as the artist is what colors you're putting on and how you're arranging them. You're going to have they'll all smear together a little bit, so having some tonal colors will give you an interesting look, but you still do get a good amount of distinction between the colors. There's some amount where it turns a little greenish, but it doesn't entirely blend together as if you were mixing it on top. So I really recommend bright colors, big contrasts are a really fun way to do it. It makes for a really striking image. The biggest thing is going to be your contrast in tones. You don't want just all really, really light colors or all really, really dark colors, especially not all really dark colors, because once you pull them, it'll look a little bit muddy and kind of difficult to see what it is that's going on. So I've got a bunch of really bright ones and fun ones today, going for a very summery vibe. Um, and you're gonna lay out your paint all around your paper. You can organize this in a really interesting, tactful way, but one of the most fun ways to do it is to really just let the process take over and put your paint just in globs all the way around. So that's the way that I'm going to do it for this one. And anything that you put down first is going to be one of the main colors that you see. And you'll also see I'm leaving a pretty hefty little dollop of these. If you wanted to, You could take some of the extra paint off, but the idea is that we're using all of this excess paint to make our sort of stripes down. So you don't want to take very much of it off. You're going to end up with a lot of excess paint from this process. Not quite as much as like an acrylic paint pour where you have, the whole canvas worth of paint that you're pouring extra, but you do end up with quite a bit of paint after this one. And little dots, big dots, whatever speaks to you. You can paint lines, you can use a syringe if you've got one around to be really methodical about where you're placing your paint. This one's coming out really runny, so we're getting a lot of this one kind of against our will. So I'm going to see what it looks like with just these colors. I recommend that you start with just 3 colors and then play around and work up from there. So once you have the paint all down, you're just going to take your squeegee, you're going to take the flat side. If you have one that covers the whole length, you can do that. And you can also rotate it if you want. But I'm just going to do a regular straight pull for you guys. You're going to want to brace the top or tape it down if you want. You want to brace the top and then just pull. You want a pretty consistent and even pull. And you can see there's a lot of extra paint on here. So that's where the paper towel comes in handy. I'm just going to set that to the side for a second. Wipe all of this off so that we can keep pulling the rest of our print. So if you've ever done any kind of screen printing, this is very similar. You just want a consistent pull speed and a consistent pressure. And I'm just taking off as much of this excess paint from the squeegee as I can manage. There we go. So you can absolutely keep pulling, but there we are. There's our first print. It's super easy to pull, it's super easy to play around with. And like I said, you're going to want to keep pulling them. You're not going to just want to do the one and then be done. You're going to want to keep playing with it. It's a very fun process, so it really encourages a lot of play. You can also take these and then transform them. They don't have to stay strictly abstract. You can turn something into a lovely seascape or a landscape. You can paint on top once they're all dried. You could turn each of these pulls into a figure and turn it into a crowd of people. You have a lot of options. The world is your oyster. And you really have an opportunity to get creative. And this kind of gives you a place to start. You don't have to pull in a straight line either. You can change your directions, you can move it like this, and all of these lines will follow you. So you can play around with it and really get to have a lot of fun with it. And I hope you can join us for the in-person, or I hope you have a lot of fun making a mess at home. And we will see you next month for the next Get Creative. Have a good one, guys. Bye.